Good morning, 24th of November, 2025, 1 month to Christmas. Holy moly. So much going on. I had a lot of fun this weekend with a friend of mine who was asleep and suggested that we never went to the moon. She went, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, let me ask you one simple question. If we did go to the moon in 1969 and I wasn't there to witness it, how did we get back?" She's a very intelligent young lady. And she went, "Do you know what? I've never thought about that." I said, "Because I don't think Uber was around in them days, and it was very difficult to pick up just a passing rocket on the way back in those days." And by doing it with humour, it opened her up. And I saw her again yesterday. This was on Saturday, I saw. Then I saw her again yesterday on Sunday. And she was like, "You're right, you know, you're right." She said, "What else have you got? What's the biggest lie they've told us?" I said, "Well, that one's even easier. The biggest lie is that Satan doesn't exist." And she went, "Wow, that's the biggest lie." Anyway, good morning. Welcome, Paul. Welcome, Drew. What a wonderful weekend.
Morning, Charlie. Morning, Drew. Morning, everyone. Wow. Diving into my first story. President Trump's Department of Government Efficiency, known as DOGE, has essentially vanished months before its official end date. The agency, once promoted as a major push to slash federal waste with Elon Musk as efficiency czar, has now had its staff and duties absorbed into other government offices. When asked about DOGE's status, the head of the Office of Personnel Management simply said, "That doesn't exist." Sounds like Trump's got his people into other agencies now.
When you have business people running government offices, things get done very quickly. This is the biggest problem with the EU. Nothing gets done because it's run by a bunch of flunkies who haven't got a clue about business. But if you've got a businessman like Donald Trump, like Elon Musk, and like their teams who get involved in thinning out a businessman realizes that if you don't thin it out quickly, you have nothing to thin out. So they get a move on. So well done. The job's done. But now is the hard part is managing it properly, because now you're having to manage a far smaller ship. And that takes a different set of skill sets. Morning, Drew.
Good morning, Charlie, Paul and everyone. My first story of the day, Candace Owens is drawing attention again after claiming online that President Emmanuel Macron approved an assassination attempt against her. She's already in a defamation battle with the Macron family over earlier allegations they deny. Owens says an anonymous French official warned her about the threat, but she's offered no evidence. The legal case continues in French courts.
I love Candace Owens, bless her. She's a real character, and she's the mainstream media and the cabal's biggest nightmare, because she's black and she's a woman. And they even went as far as the other day as calling her a middle-aged, white, privileged woman. That's how stupid these people are, because they've got nothing else to say. But she's a person that I have a lot of respect for, because she doesn't just talk. She's done her research. And we've all known what it's like to do thousands of hours of research and have a discussion with somebody who's done no research. And we've had to learn the hard way that arguing with an idiot makes us the idiot. So all we do is lay out the facts. Paul.
News from Ukraine. Kiev has removed a key anti-corruption clause from the US drafted peace plan, replacing a mandatory audit of international aid with full amnesty for wartime actions. The 28-point proposal also demands Ukraine leaves parts of the Donbass, cuts its armed forces and drops its NATO ambitions. EU allies are pushing back, warning the plan gives Russia no real concessions. Meanwhile, a major corruption scandal continues to shake Ukraine, raising questions about accountability as peace talks move forward.
Yeah, this 28-point plan was a very surreptitious plan because there was things in there that were not discussed at the table. And this is very typical of the negotiations that are happening between Kellogg from America and the EU. They agree something over a table, and then when it's written down, it's been adjusted without consent. And this is why these peace deals get rejected. But this is all part of the exposure, to expose that Kellogg is a warmonger, to expose that the EU is a warmonger. Very interesting point on that, Paul, is that in France right now, they're saying that we may need you to sacrifice your life in the war against Russia. They're telling the French people this. But that decision is not being made by the people of France or the people that the French people elected. It's being made by the EU, who nobody elected. So Europe needs to wake up and realise that who they elected in their own countries, whether it's France, Spain, Italy, Germany, the people that make decisions for your country about the war in Ukraine are not your people. They're bureaucrats that nobody voted for that make those decisions in Brussels. How did we get here? And finally, Trump is following exactly what Andrew Jackson did back in 1835 to get rid of the US debt. What he did was dissolve the National Bank, like Trump is doing with the Federal Reserve. And then he allowed the American people to buy the land from the government. And then suddenly the debt was gone. And that was the news on the 24th of November, 2025. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good day.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Noble Gold. Real assets. Real value. Your wealth protected.